Hey guys, welcome back to Study Advice. If you clicked on this video, I'm guessing you're in one of two boats, either desperately trying to stay afloat in your chemistry class, or about to jump into the deep end and a little terrified. Either way, don't worry, I've got you. We're gonna break down some super practical study tips that will not only help you survive chemistry, but actually it. Because, let's be real, chemistry is pretty dang cool once you get past all the formulas and equations. So grab your periodic table, your favorite study snacks, and let's get started. Alright, first things first. Tip number 1 is all about understanding the why behind the what. When you dive into a subject like chemistry, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information. But here's the thing, if you focus on understanding the underlying principles, everything starts to make sense. See, chemistry is like building with Legos. Imagine you're trying to build a complex structure. You could try to memorize the exact position of each block, but that would be incredibly tedious and prone to mistakes. Instead, if you understand how each type of block connects to the others, you can create any structure you want. The same principle applies to chemistry. You can try to memorize what each structure looks like, but if you understand how the blocks connect, you can build anything. It's the same with chemistry. Instead of just memorizing formulas like there's some kind of magical incantation, take the time to figure out why those formulas work. When you understand the why, the what becomes much easier to grasp. For example, take the molecular model kits you might use in class. These kits are not just toys, they're tools to help you visualize and understand the spatial relationships between atoms. When you physically connect the pieces, you're engaging multiple senses, which helps reinforce your understanding. Why do covalent bonds form? It's not just a random occurrence. Covalent bonds form because atoms share electrons to achieve a more stable electron configuration. This stability is what drives the formation of molecules. Why are some elements more reactive than others? The answer lies in their electron configurations. Elements with incomplete outer electron shells are more reactive because they tend to lose, gain, or share electrons to achieve stability. It might seem like more work up front, but trust me, understanding the concepts will save you a ton of memorization in the long run. When you truly grasp the underlying principles, you can apply them to new problems and situations, making your learning process much more efficient and enjoyable. So next time you're studying, don't just aim to memorize, aim to understand. Discuss concepts with your peers, ask questions, and use all the resources at your disposal. The more you engage with the material, the deeper your understanding will be. There are also plenty of digital tools and apps that can help you visualize complex concepts. Use them to your advantage. Simulations and interactive models can provide a different perspective and make abstract ideas more concrete. Remember, the goal is to build a solid foundation of understanding. Once you have that, everything else will fall into place. You'll find that you can tackle even the most challenging topics with confidence and ease. So, take a deep breath, dive in, and focus on understanding. Your future self will thank you. Okay, tip number 2 is all about building a strong foundation. Think of it like this. You wouldn't try to build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand, right? Chemistry is the same way. You gotta make sure you've got those core concepts down pat. That means really understanding the periodic table, atomic structure, types of bonds, and how to balance equations. These are your building blocks, people. And once you've got those down, everything else, from organic chemistry to those crazy redox reactions, will start to make so much more sense. Alright, are you ready for tip number 3? This one is all about the power of practice. You might have heard the saying, practice makes perfect. And when it comes to mastering chemistry, this couldn't be more true. This one is crucial. Practice, practice, practice. The more you practice, the more familiar you become with the concepts and the types of problems you'll encounter. It's like training for a sport. The more you train, the better you get. Chemistry is not a spectator sport. You can't just sit back and watch videos or read your textbook and expect to ace the test. You need to actively engage with the material. You can't just read your textbook and expect to ace the test. Reading is important, but it's only the first step. You need to go beyond that and apply what you've learned. You gotta get in there and get your hands dirty with some problems. Work through the examples in your textbook and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are a part of learning. Work through the examples in your textbook and make sure you understand each step. Highlight key points and take notes. This will help reinforce the material in your mind. Dig into those past papers. Past exam papers are a goldmine of information. They give you a sense of the types of questions that might come up and the format of the exam. and scour the internet for practice questions. There are countless resources available online, from practice quizzes to interactive problem sets. Use them to your advantage. Start with the easier ones to build up your confidence. It's important to build a strong foundation before tackling more complex problems. As you gain confidence, you'll find that the harder problems become more manageable. Then gradually work your way up to the more challenging ones. Don't rush the process. Take your time to understand each problem and the steps needed to solve it. And here's a pro tip. Don't just skip to the answer. It's tempting to look at the solution when you're stuck, but try to work through the problem on your own first. Write out each step of your work. This will help you understand the process and identify where you might have gone wrong. Plus, writing things down helps reinforce the material in your memory. It'll help you catch those little mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but the key is to learn from them. By writing out each step, you can see where you went wrong and correct it, and really solidify the concepts in your brain. The more you practice, the more these concepts will become second nature. So, keep practicing, stay persistent, and you'll see improvement over time. Chapter 4. Learn smart techniques. Now let's talk about studying smarter, not harder, with tip number 4. Flashcards are your best friend when it comes to memorizing reactions, definitions, and those pesky formulas. And don't worry, you don't need fancy index cards. Apps like Anki and Quizlet are amazing for this. For bigger topics like acids, bases, and titrations, try creating mind maps. It's a great way to visualize how everything connects. And if you're struggling to remember something, don't be afraid to get a little creative with mnemonics. Remember oil rig? Oxidation is loss, reduction is gain. Find what works for you. Chapter 5. Visualize and relate chemistry to real life. Tip number 5 is all about making chemistry feel less like some abstract concept and more like, well, real life. Because the truth is, chemistry is everywhere. Think about it. When you're baking and you add baking soda to a recipe, that's an acid-base reaction. The battery in your phone? Redox reactions. Start looking for those real-world connections, and you'll be surprised how much easier it is to remember the concepts. Alright, tip number 6 might sound a little counterintuitive, but trust me on this one, teach it to someone else. Find a friend, a sibling, a pet rock, anyone who will listen, and explain a concept to them as if you were the teacher. The act of breaking down a complex idea into simple terms forces you to really understand it yourself. Plus, if you can explain it in a way that makes sense to someone else, you know you've got it down. Okay, we're getting close to the end here, but this next tip is a big one. Tip number 7 is all about consistency over cramming. This is a game changer, especially for subjects like chemistry that require a deep understanding of concepts. Listen, I get it, cramming can feel like a badge of honor in college. We've all been there, pulling all-nighters, fueled by coffee and sheer willpower. But when it comes to chemistry, slow and steady wins the race. The subject is intricate and layered, and understanding it requires time and patience. Instead of trying to cram everything in the night before an exam, which often leads to stress and burnout, set aside even just 30 minutes to an hour each day to review your notes. This consistent effort helps reinforce what you've learned and makes it easier to recall information during exams. Work through some practice problems regularly. Chemistry is a subject where practice truly makes perfect. The more problems you solve, the more familiar you become with different types of questions and problem-solving techniques. And let those concepts really sink in. Give yourself the time to understand the why behind each concept, not just the how. This deeper understanding will serve you well in exams and beyond. The Pomodoro technique is great for this. It's a time management method that encourages focused studying in short bursts. 25 minutes of focused studying followed by a 5-minute break. This technique helps maintain your concentration and prevents burnout. You'll be amazed at how much more you retain when you're not forcing your brain into overdrive. Consistent, steady study habits build a strong foundation of knowledge, making it easier to recall information when you need it most. Another tip is to organize your study materials and plan your study schedule in advance. This helps you stay on track and ensures that you cover all the necessary topics without last-minute panic. Don't underestimate the power of study groups. Discussing topics with peers can provide new insights and make learning more interactive and enjoyable. Utilize online resources and educational videos to supplement your learning. Sometimes a different explanation or perspective can make a complex topic easier to understand. And remember to take care of yourself. Regular breaks, physical activity, and proper sleep are crucial for maintaining your mental and physical health, which in turn supports your academic performance. By adopting these consistent study habits, you'll find that learning becomes less of a chore and more of a rewarding journey. You'll not only perform better in your exams but also develop a deeper appreciation for the subject. So, embrace consistency and watch as your hard work pays off. You'll be celebrating those good grades and sharing your success with friends in no time. With these strategies, you'll walk into your exams with confidence, knowing that you're well prepared and ready to tackle any challenge that comes your way. And finally, tip number 8. Don't be afraid to take advantage of all the amazing resources out there. Websites like Khan Academy and, dare I say it, Crash Course, are fantastic for breaking down complex topics into digestible chunks of information. Download apps like Periodic Table Pro for an interactive and engaging learning experience. And don't underestimate the power of study groups or online forums for collaborative learning. Sometimes just talking through a problem with someone else can make all the difference in understanding. Alright guys, those are my top tips for not just surviving but thriving in chemistry. Remember, it's not about being a genius, it's about finding the study strategies that work best for you. If this video helped you level up your chemistry game, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend who might be struggling, and let me know in the comments what your favorite study tip is. And don't forget to subscribe for more study hacks and motivation. You've got this. Good luck, and happy studying.